Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Today's webinar will be about using 3D models in Clip Studio Paint for your character, presented by Laovaan. Before we begin the webinar, there are some housekeeping items that we'd like to go through. The webinar will be approximately 1 hour long. All attendees will be muted. Question and answer session will be during the last 15 minutes of the webinar. Attendees can ask questions in the GoToWebinar question box right away. Due to time constraints, not all questions will be answered. The webinar will be recorded. The recording will be shared on social media and will be sent via email to all registrants and attendees. The panelists for this webinar are Mario Quiñones, myself, Joanna Brower, and Laovaan. For those of you who join us for the very first time or have never heard about Clip Studio Paint, Clip Studio Paint is your all-in-one solution for stunning, ready-to-publish illustrations, comics, manga, and animations. Learn more at clipstudio.net/n and graphicly.com. We want to remind you that we'll share your Instagram stories if you tag us. So please hashtag webinar and at Laovaan, Graphicly, Waka, and Clip Studio Official, and we'll be sharing you on our Instagram stories. Today, the presentation will be about using 3D models in Clip Studio Paint for your character and will be presented by Laovaan. Laovaan is a freelance artist from Germany. He started drawing over 16 years ago and his main focus is on manga illustrations and comics using Clip Studio Paint, Photoshop, and watercolors. On his YouTube channel, he uploads art tutorials and videos about his experience as an art student. So with that, I will pass the reins of the webinar to Lars Laovaan, and we want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Hello. Does it work? Am I? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So today I want to go through the process of creating and adjusting the 3D models in Clip Studio for. Oh. All right. I thought it was already visible. Just let me check. Height. Okay. All right. Okay. So I want to go with you through the process of setting up that 3D model, and there are a lot of different adjustments for that. So setting it up might take a bit of practice and time, but yeah, let's start. So first, we need our models, and for that, we would need the material window, which you can find here. I have put it up here, and yeah, with the 3D models, you can decide with between two body types. I just drag one right here, and yeah, that's the typical default pose. Just let me quickly. I'm not sure whether it's whether you've played around with them before, so I just go through the basic functions. Right here we have the camera, and that's also just the standard thing that you can move around when you press your pen across the tablet. Then we have the slider that lets us pick the view of the character. We have a zoom button, and now, like, you notice probably a difference in the symbols. Here we have like the objects, here we have the camera, so these 5 symbols are for the object. And as you can see with the shadow, This one is to position the model in the room. This one is to rotate it on this axis, and if you go up and down on this axis, and yeah, we have something to rotate it another axis, and also around the center itself. And this last one is also a great way to position the character once we have an environment, but we will come to that in a few minutes. All right, so now that we've played around with it, we want to go and have it set up to default. So there we have like these 3 symbols here. This one changes the pose back to normal. This one, the scale, if I would have made it bigger, and this one sets the rotation back, and this one puts it on the ground level. We also have, yeah, okay, let's go first with the lighting. I just zoom it right here, because this is something where I didn't talk about in any tutorials of mine, and it's a bit, it can be quite overwhelming. If you see this panel right here, there's a lot of things that might be confusing, but we will go through it. Usually I click on this symbol right here because it opens another window and it might look a bit more structured than this one. And with the 3D models in Clip Studio, we also have the option to choose a light source. This one is just the basic light source. But we also have on this panel right here, objects list, even more lights available. And if we may, have them on set on, we get quite a lot of light. So I want to change the color of it. And this is something that I haven't really talked about before, but I think it's pretty cool that even these can be a reference tool, like different light settings. For older drawings and paintings, I wished I had known about that because you can, do these 80s-like light effects. And then there's also ambience light, which I think is very subtle in the end. But we can also go through it and maybe force more of something like a night situation. Another thing where I always need some time to figure out where it actually hides is with these figures, you usually have these lines right on there, and they are really helpful, especially in case you want to draw like a wristband or any type of clothes. Then you can use these lines as orientation. But in case you don't want them, you can go here on rendering settings. So you have to select the model, then it works, and then you can turn off the texture. And so we have our clean and lit model. Now let's talk about the body shape. So just let me center the figure. With the 3D models, you can change the height. And also the head to body ratio in case you want to draw like a super deformed character, maybe a little kid or something like that. But what I like to play around with is just the general body type. And there we have quite the options from ripped to more bigger, with less muscle and just thin. And sometimes, from my understanding, I like to also go even into a bit more micro adjustments, and then you can click right here on this silhouette, and in case you need it, adjust the shoulders, for example, or in case you want to have the arms bigger, you can also do that. There's like a slider right here that gives you the option to stay on this diagonal line. So the length and the width of the arms go together. Yeah, so it's proportional. And yeah, you can do this for quite a lot of different things on the body. And then there's also the hand pose panel. And I think this one is quite helpful when you try to quickly have certain hand gestures. We have like 4 default things right here, default poses. Let me just zoom in there. That affect the hands differently from the shape. And from then we can go and place this fader right here. And it is from that stiff looking hand to a more open hand. And down here it closes the end. And with this slider right here, you can almost do about any hand pose. Like when we lock the fingers, you can see like there's a little subtle drawing of a hand right here that has the chains across according to which finger we want to lock. And let's say I want to do a peace sign or something like that, and I can just go along the slider and figure out how far I want the fingers to be apart and how stiff I want them to be. All right, then let's now go to positioning. So I hope it's not too quick, because it's actually like if something that's important part about this. If something is overwhelming, there's a lot of experience that I even don't have at all times because there's quite a lot of options, and sometimes I forget about certain things. For example, just before I forget that, if we want to just change one hand because it affected both of these, you just have to click it, and then it only will affect one hand. So let's have a look at this. All right. In case we want to, let's create just a strong, cool pose. To move the arms and the legs, you have to click on them, or you can just drag them directly. But for minor adjustments, usually I click on them, and then we have these 3 axes along that we can use the leg. And with the knee, we only have 1 axis. That's the same with the elbow, because it actually is like that our elbow is only tiltable in just one direction. And to get the arm actually in the position we need to turn the shoulder around. So let's put it right here. And another function that we have right here in this menu is to lock certain joints. If I want, for example, to have the pose more in that direction, so tilted. Come on. Did it work? No, it won't do the trick. So we need to lock a joint by clicking that and use this toggle fixation of the select joint menu. And now we have a little square right here. And now we can move the figure along that fixed joint. And yeah, it can be a bit complicated, but for minor adjustments, locking a joint is quite a nice tool to have. I'm going to release it by pressing this button here, but I'm also just going a few steps back. Another quick method to have a rough approach to your pose is to double click the 3D model, and then we come into a different menu, which is with these little balls right here, and that they also give you the option to change, for example, where the character is looking, which is when you have this menu right here, you can of course use the axis, but if you are working with multiple characters, for example, so let's just add another one, bringing right here. And I want him to look at him. We can place this thing right here, and that would be quite accurately him looking at the other character. Could do the same for this one here as well. And yeah, the other points all affect multiple joints. Usually the hands and feet are fixed, which leaves us with this dancing motion. But this is also to very quickly apply certain poses. When you are satisfied with your pose, this is just for playing around, then you can also save the pose. For that, you have to register the 3D model that you have clicked or selected, and then you can click register full body pose, and then you can save it. But I just explained that so you know what I did right here when I've actually created already a few poses and saved them. So the typical way, because I wouldn't really recommend doing these poses from ground up, is to go through the library that Clip Studio has. So Clip Studio has quite a lot of poses that are default with the program. And to change the poses of your character, you can just drag these poses on top your default pose, and then you can adjust them to your needs. That's typically where I'm going with the characters that the poses that I do. So, for example, for let's say, where is it? For a pose like this, for example, this one was the default, and I just adjusted like the turn, like the way the torso is bent and stuff like that. So there is a low chance that these poses are exactly what you need, but they are often close to where you want to go with your characters. So that's something that I definitely can recommend. And in case there's really nothing there, you can always go through the asset section and download new poses. So this one is one that I downloaded there. Let's put him right here. And that later on became this one, I think. Because that was what I was looking for, but I wasn't really in the mood to go from from the default pose and just change everything from scratch. So I just recommend going to one of these custom poses that come with Clip Studio. All right, now that we have poses, let's go a little back to the tool property window, and let's go here again, because these are something that you actually just adjust right here. So if I don't want it to be visible here, then I can put it off right here. So again, this little button here gives you all the options. This one is like a quick shortcut for that. And we want to have a look at, where is it? Oh, let's go here. Right. Here we have the perspective slider, I would just call it. And if we go full, you already notice the picture becoming warp. But this little slider right here is something that really gives us quite the tool to create really interesting perspectives. I mean, hence it's called perspective probably, but it really creates like a deep space with the rest. And it's kind of like the little cousin of Manga Perspective. So this one is really meant to go along with the grid. So we would have like the what is it called? The focus point right here, and we can enhance that and push the point even further here. With Manga Perspective, it is a bit different. Oh, okay, it focuses on this character. Moment, where is it? The list there. Just putting them off. Right. Okay, Manga Perspective. I think I would say it's more focused around the hands. So, for example, you can see that right here. I totally overdid it, but it has a different effect. But that one can work also really, really well. If you have a punching scene, for example, I would recommend playing around with Manga Perspective. It's a bit, I think, heavy on the computer because the fan inside my computer is a bit blowing. But yeah, this one, it's quite nice to play with, around with, but still the perspective right here is also really great. And so one thing that I have to talk about, because that's something that I never really cared much when working with these figures. When I zoom in and out, you can see this grid right here. And this is obviously the ground. And it's not really visible when you don't really zoom in and out. So when I created figures for drawings, I had really no idea how to change the ground, and I didn't really care. So I would just rotate the figure, and then let's say then I put like the table right here and create a perspective like that, which isn't really, you can do it, but then you can't really continue with working with that 3D model and put it in a different environment, because Clip Studio has quite some stunning backgrounds and they can oh, okay, it looked pretty weird when the model is just rotated not across the axis like the ground. So I go back before I rotated him there, because in the subtool box we have this little slider here. It's called roll, and this one also affects the ground. So if I click on it, you see like the little, I have to zoom. That, yeah, ground right here, that one can be changed with the roll. How is it again? There. And now when we add another background, okay, wait, this one should be material there. So there, okay. So now the background is actually just in the same with the same horizontal line. We just okay, have changed the yeah, what is it called, the plate, like having it in a diagonal angle. And of course we can go a bit backwards with it. All right, so now that we have this little neon town, I want to do something, let's say with one of the saved poses that I had. Oh, come on. Well, let's go for this one. Now we have the tools to give this one a bit of yeah, more drama. So as I said, the perspective tool is one way to really give this one like a dramatic effect, the dramatic perspective. And then I also want it to be a bit more diagonal. Let's put it like that maybe. And now we have to get a bit of a nice angle right here. Maybe zooming a bit. And of course we can have him watch the viewer. And in case if you are a bit confused by the white space that's left there, I think I want to have it a bit more in the right lighting. So I pick one of the materials that you can find in the materials section. And I put a night sky right in the background. And now I can slightly adjust the layer to get some kind of a nice composition. And in case, because this is something, obviously when you pick the light for the character, you don't know how it affects the background. So we can always go back. This one, and change the light a bit. So yeah, this one has a nice glow. All right. And yeah, basically now it's a lot of adjustments. So you can always yeah, click and adjust things. The one thing that you might notice is that with this layer, in case you want to do the line art, it doesn't really affect anything around here. For that, we can change the display settings for editing from fast to normal. At the moment, I don't really dare to do that because I don't want my computer to crash. So usually what I do is I create a new layer. That's like the poor man method. Make it white and then just lower the opacity there. And this is something where now I can start and do the line art of that. And I also think, like, I never really did it before, but I think it's also a great way in case you want to do like a short animation or something, because you can go in there and yeah, let's just do it like that. So I'll later line this one, but now for what I want to show you is I'm gonna explain it with the Lineart filter from Clip Studio. I think it's only in EX, but it doesn't really matter. So we have to rasterize it, and yeah, then we can do a line art layer with it. Let's go here, but all right. Rasterize it again, and then we have like this function right here, convert brightness to opacity, which is really helpful when you use scanned line art because it makes every white pixel disappear and transparent. And so we are just left with like line art. And I think now that would be a great way to do like little animations because we have like this thing right here and we can then just slightly adjust those little things. But yeah, that's not what it's about today. I just wanted to mention it because it's something I really enjoyed. Yeah, so now let's go on and let's do the line art. Right, so an important aspect working with these figures, and that is something that I don't know. Like I think nowadays the mood or the approach towards working with 3D models has changed a bit, but sometimes I think they are a bit misunderstood. So working with these models, you have to slightly fix things with your drawings. For example, I mean, as you've seen, like the line art filter, it has a perfect line art done of it, but it doesn't look as good. So this is something where I think you can't really overestimate these figures because they are a nice reference, but they are not keeping you away from learning a bit of anatomy. And it's a bit hard for me to explain. For example, right here, if I'm doing the line art right here, I don't feel like this whole thing right here is what I would go for. I would fix it right here. And that comes when you draw, that comes with experience when you draw a lot of bodies, basically, or a lot of anatomy, because you figure out a way how proportions work and how things should look. And yeah, it's quite hard to explain, but with these models, and I mean, that's also like the benefit of them. Because, for example, if you, let's say, want the breast to be bigger, then of course you can just adjust it with your drawing. You don't really need to go in there again and figure out like how to, yeah, make the breast big or something. But you can actually just change it when you use this model as a reference tool. And the same goes for the muscles, for example. Like, I mean, this already has a nice little hint that the shoulders end here and the arm begins here. But here, for example, if I would go in there and just trace this line, the arms would look a bit more like gummy worms or something like that. So we have to exaggerate it a bit at least. Yeah, and it's a kind of work that these models won't do for you. As you've seen, there is a lot that you can do with them. From the lighting, which I think is a really nice thing you can work with. Like I've spent a lot of time searching for reference pictures on photos online that have this bylighting effect. And also for the enhanced perspective that you can create with it, that's really great if you have ideas for certain angles and want to check whether it would work. I mean, one last thing, because I don't think that lining it now will get as far, but there are also quite the cool objects that you can use and combine with your character. Oh, well, now I have to click this. So in case you want to add the objects, you have to have the layer selected, and then you can drag it right here. And this way we can also create a nice sword with our character. And yeah, I've downloaded quite a few from the asset section that you can see here. I really recommend like going into that, just checking out what the community has created. Oh, let's have a look at the back. Come on. Okay. Okay, I don't know how to move that one across. Oh, wait. Okay. Now he has a back too. But yeah. Okay, I know why it happened. Okay, yeah, you might notice that it's a bit tricky sometimes. Okay, it just won't get into it. Anyway, yeah, I would always recommend working with one 3D model layer because then the perspective stays the same. Like the role that I've shown you, everything adjusts to that. So when I put in another character, right here, then it already has this. It's grounded basically. If I would put it somewhere else, okay, also works, but it isn't affected by the light. But good to know. Yeah, okay. In case you don't want the one character to be lighted. Okay. No, it's yeah. Work with one layer. Let's see. I think. Yeah, I've prepared something why I went a bit farther with the line art and sketch around it, and because I wanted to more or less give a bit of a before and after, and what I paid attention to when I sketched over the figure. So as you've noticed, this part right here, if you would line it, would be a bit critical. And it's really difficult for me to explain it. It's just my feeling. I don't know if you also see that, but I think this part here would look a bit strange. So I wouldn't really just do the line art and go with it. So I put the line right here for the pants, obviously, but also to have the upper leg more connected with the stomach. Same is also with the hands. This is from the model, the line. and I slightly gave it a nice bend right here. These are the things that are really hard to explain why I did them. It's just, it can just tell you that the more often you work with reference like these and also with real life reference, the more you will get somewhat of a feeling for what to adjust. Nevertheless, you can already see like this model had quite the impact on how this picture looks. So yeah. Okay, I think that's I'm ready for questions.
Okay, I was waiting for you. You could have said anything earlier, but
Mhm.
so you prepared all of this. Do you want to just go in, like keep sketching on it or something? I'm sure
Yeah,
people
yeah,
will like
of
to
course.
see that. So you already mentioned that you don't rely completely on the line art of the model. How often do you use 3D models for your illustrations?
I think it really depends on the motive that I have in mind. I've done a few more things where I can go through. This one, for example. This pose, so it's 3 characters, and for that one I would have used models probably. So even I think it was around the time where I worked on a video, so I wanted to use these models, but for pictures like these, I would use them. If we go here, you can see them right here because they all needed to be like on the same surface. That would be something that is really hard to come up with
Hmm,
from just imagination.
hmm,
And I wanted it to be like consistent. And also the perspective. This one, like the hand reaching towards the viewer, is something that works really well with the manga perspective that I talked about. So the hands usually get a bit more warped and hands towards like the camera. But when I go and flip right here through the folders, you can also see that I adjusted parts of that. And there is like a lot of effort in working or setting these figures up. And to come back to your question, like if I would draw a portrait, for example, like just let's say this crop, then I wouldn't use a model for that because this is something where the work of setting up the model wouldn't be much of a time saver.
hmm,
So for multiple people or like also for full body poses, these models work really well. But if it's just like a little portrait or something, so just the head, you wouldn't need a 3D model for that.
hmm.
That would work on its
Yeah.
own.
You also drew a comic manga in the past, so was it helpful there having the models?
Yes, yes, there it was really helpful because when I did the manga, I basically had no real image of how I would do it. I first wanted to do it like traditionally with ink and a pen and stuff like that. And when I made the first panels, I thought, well, I would like to adjust some things. I would like to be able and just, basically turn the frame and the composition and stuff like that with just a few strokes. And then I thought, okay, for that, these 3D models would be probably really helpful. And I am not sure, like, I think you can probably tell if you would see the panels sometimes because I wasn't really that knowledgeable about like that I need to fix things myself. I mean,
Hmm,
I've seen that it doesn't look as I would like it to be, so I adjusted a few things, but I think they still seem a bit stiff overall. So I can definitely recommend working with them and also doing it very early on, not directly for the comic book project. Like that should probably not be the first time that you've worked with them, but also they work fine. So.
Okay.
And also, in the end, those comic pages get read like in a few seconds, so
No one
it
will know.
doesn't. Yeah, not as bad. Like if you would do it for a full illustration and it looks really, yeah, that could be something else. But with a page, it's okay.
Okay. Just a quick questions about your setup. What are you currently using as to draw on? Need to cover that as well.
I'm using a Mobile Studio Pro. I think it's 13 inches. It's a smaller one, and I've been working with it. Like the comic has been done fully on this device, which was really helpful because when I had to switch places, yeah, that I could always take it with me. That was like a nice thing. But also over the time, it heats up a bit. So I often need to have a book underneath, or my knees would burn.
Yeah. Okay. What else? So we have your tablet. That's good. That's always an important question. There was a question about the image you showed with the 3 characters. How long did it take you to draw that?
Let me put that back up. Just because I like to roast myself. It took not as long as you would think. I think the worst part was okay, this is so it's actually done in black and white, which is usually also a time saver. And you can see right here, like it's it's not really detailed. It's really sketchy, and I colored it with a layer on top that is just like a simple plain color set on color mode. Let's go here on normal. Yeah, you can see like this one was done really quickly, and I mean I enjoy to work very roughly, but I also I'm a control freak more or less. Like in my head, often I can't really get over it, and I would like to also adjust things and render them and work them out and stuff like that. So I purposefully said like, no, I don't want to spend any more time on it and call it a day because these characters are they look okay when they are done roughly, like no proper line art and stuff like that. So I think it maybe was around a day.
Okay. That's not too long, I would think.
For 3 people, it's like one of my records.
Yeah. So in the illustration, did you have the image in your head and then you set up the 3D models, I suppose? Or did you start with a sketch first and then set up the 3D models? Like, what's your usual workflow on that one?
That is also shifting every time. So sometimes I see like, let's say, a cool posture of like a photograph or something, like someone that where like maybe like from a fashion magazine or something like that. And then I think like, okay, I would like to have it, but a certain better angle for my drawing. And then I would go in and maybe recreate that pose with the figure. Like as I said in the beginning, scrolling through what is default in Clip Studio and what is similar, and then adjusting it, and then I would work from there. For the 3 guys, there was like I had in mind I want to have like this perspective from where the viewer is top looking down, and someone reaching outro. I think it built over the composition that I chose the 3 people, and then I thought, okay, I could make like this vampire thing out of it. So that one grew with the arrangement of the figures.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually it's that I have like something that had inspired me to work on a pose like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. How much do you usually rely on the lighting that you set up with the 3D models?
As the lighting thing is something, I mean, I don't know if I made it like apparent, but it's something that I have only known recently. So I'm really amazed by how this looks in the end. It has like this nice neon flare, especially if the night thing is on. And I'm not sure yet if I can include it with my style in the end, because I have a bit of a flat coloring style. So this around here is a bit, would be too rendered for me. But
Yeah.
I think I could probably use it like with different layer modes. So for example, if I would be about to, let's quickly go through it, because I have no idea how it would look, what it would look like. But you can find that out. Okay. Masterize. All right, now it's clipped. Okay, probably would need to render it more. Maybe you can do it in the meantime. But yeah, let's figure it out. Maybe it works. Because I like to use like these layer modes a lot. And often they really add something, maybe multiply works, that you can include with your drawing, even if it's flat.
Yeah, it probably depends on what light source you use and like the color is arranged. I guess if you have like a really abstract thing, the pink and the purple and the green would probably work.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's quite. It's also just inspiring. So to see, like, I wouldn't have thought about doing a drawing like this if it wasn't for the lighting. Because if it's just normal lighting, it would look boring, I guess. But this gives it like this dramatic feeling, and yeah.
Probably just good to try out things at first and then see how it feels and then see what you do with that. Okay, well, almost at the end already. Could you just one more time, just for everyone to see, like how you get to the material palette, how you put the character on the screen, and then how to add a pose, just in that order, so it's very easy to understand and everyone can see it again.
Okay, so we have the material order that if it's not open by default in your program, you can find it under window. This one, I guess, is with every, should always be here. Window, material, and then we have like a range of things, but we want to have like the 3D models. And from there, we can choose, so this opens this window basically. We can choose the body type and drag it onto our canvas. And then we're all ready to go. Just clicking on it. In case you want to have the default poses, they are right underneath. You can place them on the character, and also something that I could have mentioned earlier. It's like there are also poses for the hands, like where you have to click the hand and then drag it onto it, and they will just take these poses. But still, there's also the option to change those single hands by going here, and then you have this panel.
Yes.
So they are in reach, these little things. They are all reach, but yeah, it really takes a bit of practice to get used.
And just because I've seen it come up a lot, it is possible to save a pose, like you do all the adjustments and then you click a button.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the little figure with the plus at the bottom, and then you can save your pose and use it in other projects as well. I think that's like one of the most common questions that we got today. And yes, just one little addition as well. You can import your own 3D models, but there are some limitations. OBJ files usually work. That was also a very common question. And for rigs and bones, you usually have to set them up in Modeler, which is part of the Clip Studio Paint suite. Like you can see that if you open the launcher, but it takes a little while. And you can, of course, download everything or a lot of different things from the asset store as well, like you said before. Okay, I think that's mostly it in terms of questions. Do you want to add anything else?
Yeah, I think I mean I'm not sure. Like when I did a video on 3D models talking about whether it would be cheating or not to use them, and it's I think still a bit of a divisive topic, but I would assume that like if you've tried them yourself, you know what kind of work goes into it to set these figures up, and also to fix parts that aren't as natural looking, more or less, and that takes quite the experience. So I would just recommend giving it a try in case you have any doubts about whether you would have it too easy or something like that. It's quite the process. It really gives you options and possibilities to work with different perspectives and stuff like that, but it will make it automatically look good.
Yeah, of course. I think that's always a good point. And art is hard, so it's good to use like all the tools you can.
Yeah.
You can still make it your own, I think. All right. I think we're just 5 minutes over, but that's okay if you want to add anything else. Anything you're working on currently? That's like.
I'm currently working on a hair tutorial for the next YouTube video, and I'm really excited about it because the hardest part with explaining things is you are just too used to doing things a certain way that you don't really have an answer to why you do it. You just think like, okay, this looks correct here and not here. It's just a kind of intuition. And for the hair, it's often the same. But I think I found something where I can try to explain it and give like some kind of tool to remember how you can also shade hair like that and construct it basically so it fits the head.
Yeah. Sounds good. Then we're looking forward to that and seeing that. I guess it's on your YouTube channel then?
Yes. I've done the script. I've also partly done the voiceover, so it might be maybe a week or two. Hopefully not any longer.
That's very soon, so we gotta check that out at that point. All right. Thank you so much for your time and explaining all the many details of the 3D models. Was a great way of getting into those.
Thank you very much for having me and for listening. And I hope I didn't ramble too much. After all, there was like a red line across it.
Thank you so much, Laovaan. It was such a great presentation. You inspired a lot and all of us to try the 3D models. And thank you so much, Joanna, for your work. I know there were so many questions today, but you did it amazingly. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us, who are still with us. And just a reminder that for more information, learn more about Clip Studio Paint, visit clipstudiopaint.net/n and graphicsly.com, and that this webinar has been recorded and will be uploaded to our Clip Studio Paint channel on YouTube and Graphicsly YouTube channel. For more information about Laovaan, don't forget to follow him on social media as Laovaan on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to SirKites92, which is Laovan's name on YouTube. So with that, thank you so much, Joanna. Thank you so much, Laovaan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to all of you, thank you so much for being today with us, and stay tuned with more events and promotions, informations, and tips about Clip Studio Paint. Stay tuned with us and see you in our next event. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.